Okay, so what do you need for this? I've got some plaster of Paris. Mine looks quite profesh because I ordered it for this job knowing I was going to do this and another task with it. But any old plaster of Paris from your local DIY store, doesn't have to be expensive, can be kids modelling stuff, doesn't matter. Something, I've got alcohol spray just to clean your badge up. Something that will put a bit of a shine on it. I'm using Demon Shine, it's got a little bit of wax in it. Some water, some masking tape, a yogurt pot or margarine pot or whatever you've got. That means your badge fits nicely in it with plenty of space around the edges. A container to mix my plaster of Paris in, a little bit of wet and dry, and we're kind of away. Step one, get your yogurt pot or margarine pot or butter pot or whatever pot you've got, and hopefully it's got a reasonably flat top anyway, but this has had a tin foil seal on it, so I'm just giving it a scuff up so it's nice and flat. That's done the job nicely. Next, I've got a nice flat surface. This is an upside down glass cutting board, so that's nice and easy. Next, what I'm going to do is cut the pot in half, and that's because we don't need all the depth, and it suits us to have access to both sides. Don't have to be accurate. And I could have just took the base out, it wouldn't have made any difference. The reason I'm trying to cut it roughly in half is I've got another pot for something else. There we go. So that is going to be my moulding frame. I'm going to get a little bit of masking tape and use that to stick it down to my flat surface. I'm on a piece of glass, which is excellent, but to be honest, your workbench would be fine, and you can use any tape you like. Masking tape is not the best for this, but it's literally what I had to hand, and it will be fine. And this will stop things from moving around, which is important, but it's also going to stop a little bit of the leakage of the water really from the plaster of Paris coming underneath the edge. Because of the nature of the stuff, it will set very quickly and seal any gaps anyway. This just means it's a lot less messy. So there we go. We've got our frame. Good idea would have been to do this before, but I'm just going to squirt a little bit of nice waxy stuff onto the glass. That way I can get the plaster of Paris to come off really easy, but it will not stick much anyway. Next, we've got our badge, and our badge is going to get a little bit of alcohol squirted on him to make sure he's completely clean. Take off any dirt and grime, bits of plastic that have just got snagged on it in the last few minutes. That looks pretty good. And then again, a little squirt, turn it back on, John, with something with a little bit of wax in it. So this is Demon Shine, but anything at all that leaves your part nice and shiny. I wouldn't recommend oiling it up because it'll contaminate the plaster of Paris. But something that just leaves maybe the slightest of films on the surface. Again, it's just going to make things easy when it comes to getting it back out. Now what I'm going to do is place my XK8 badge in the bottom of my pot in the middle, and see where I've got a nice gap all the way around. Now this is going to move around too easily. If I bump this, this is going to drift. So what I'm going to do is get myself a little bit of masking tape, fold it over in half so I've got double-sided sticky tape in effect, and then find a space, can't pick it up, on the reverse of my badge where I can stick that and it will not show from the front. That's very important. Okay, he's in the middle there and stuck down. Next, clean pot, garage spoon, because everybody's got one of them, and you open up your plaster of Paris. That's about how big the other half of my pot is. So I'm just going to pour that much water in. Oops. Let's see how accurate I am. And to that, we're going to add some plaster of Paris. And this is looks like talcum powder. It's quite fine dust, really. Just going to add a little bit more water because I don't want to be short. There we go. And now, basically, start adding plaster of Paris to make a milk. So you don't want to get wet tools in there, which is my mistake I've just nearly made. And keep adding that in, and you're after making a creamy paste. It's very easy when you're making this to go a little bit too far with adding the powder. You can add more water to thin it back up, but you can end up with lumps and bumps and things starting to set, so it's easier to approach the point by adding powder rather than get it wrong the other way. Don't put your powder in your cup and then add water. You guarantee you're just going to end up with a lumpy mess. Okay, that's turned out at 15 heaped tablespoons of powder into 1 mug of water. They're heaped tablespoons, not level. Feels like a cookery show now. I could definitely add more, and it would be okay. But I'm starting to get to the point where I'm worried that it could start to lump up and I won't be able to get the lumps back out. And I've got a really nice consistency for pouring. You do want to be able to pour this stuff. Inevitably you're adding bubbles as you're stirring. You don't actually want bubbles in it. So try not to whisk it too vigorously. And then when you do come to the point where you think, right, I'm going to have to start using this now, put your spoon to one side. Give it a good knock on a work surface in an attempt to bring the majority of the bubbles to the surface. And you should see lots and lots of fine bubbles at the top. Just let it sit for a few seconds. I don't want to leave it too long because it'll start setting before I'm ready. And what I'm going to do now is fill it into my mould. I'm going to check that my badge is still attached. Doesn't have to be brilliant as long as it's not going to wander off or float off. And I'm going to pour this in. I'm not going to pour it directly onto the badge. I'm going to try and let it flow over the badge. Because what I don't want is any trapped air, and I've got the holes in the middle of the badge, so let that fill in nice and slow like that. Should stop anything from going wrong. And I'm going to try and make quite a robust mould where I can use several times. So I'm going to put all of that into the cavity. I'm going to give the tabletop a good bump. Again, this is try to bring any air to the surface. And we'll leave it at that. The big leak here is actually my spillage, I think. Let's just find out. Yeah, that's just spill. You can see this stuff starting to dry quite quickly. So now, top tip, anything you don't want in a mess, go wash it. One little sanity check I've got to do with you guys is don't pour any of your Plaster or Paris water down your domestic sink or drain. I've got a sink in my garage which goes into a bucket. Reason is any amount of this stuff will set in the presence of water and will clog up your pipes. So if you even got very, very weak solution of this in your U-bend, it's going to set. It might not block it this time, but a couple of goes and it's definitely going to restrict your domestic plumbing. So just be careful how you wash the stuff out. Just stick this so it dries better from both sides. I just don't want to distort the plaster. It's coming.
Oh, so much moved.
Right, that rose up a little bit, obviously. Yeah. I can sand that off.
It's coming. Bottom wants to come out, John. That's it, I've got it.
Right, just bring down the other way. That's it, let that side dry off. So we've got our fully dried Plaster of Paris mould of our XK8 badge. It still has the badge inside it. This is the side of the badge that attaches to the car, and a little bit of Plaster of Paris got underneath it. So there's a thin skin of plaster over the badge. So we're going to sort that out now. So we got some sandpaper, just masking tape down to the work surface. Turn this over and gently rub. You can see, I think, the edges of the 8 coming out. Every so often we're going to want to clean away some of the powder. And that's about it. So there is the perimeter of our XK8 badge. Next, we just have to get it out. Get rid of some of that muck. See if I can lift that corner. Yes. That one. This is going to come out quite nicely, I think. There we go. Tiny bit of damage to the mould there. Right, I think she's out. There we go. Badge completely unwounded. And very pleasing XK8 mould. Got a tiny bit of debris in the bottom there. I don't know if it's attached or if it's a dent. Let's have a look. Nope. That came straight off. Yeah, so the only thing that went wrong, where is it? It's so small I've lost it. Oh, there we go. There's a very small piece of the surface came away just there. But overall, I am so pleased with how good a mould that has taken, and it's so sharp.